Yeah, so first time I voted was in the last federal election. It was a couple days after I had turned 18, and I showed up on election day with my parents, and it was really exciting. Just to finally have the opportunity to do it. It was something I had looked forward to for a long time. I think for a lot of first-time voters like myself, it definitely brought for me a sense of pride and like responsibility, I guess you would say. It really kind of, I mean, it's the first time you voted. It's kind of it was a big deal to me. It was exciting. It was a little bit nerve-wracking. I didn't know what the process was going to be like initially. I had never stepped inside a voting poll station or a booth before. And that I guess I mitigated a little bit by preparing in advance and, figuring out where my voting location was and what ID I needed, things like that. And so that kind of helps a little bit with nervousness. But I walked into there, was pretty empowered. I think federal elections, especially, it can be easy to think that your vote doesn't matter or that doesn't count or that considering the wide Canadian population, it's not as important as you think it is. But just the act of doing it and being a part of the cool thing that is Canadian democracy, right? Reinforcing uh, that importance of civic engagement was really cool to finally have like been a part of. As a young disabled voter, I'm also like super aware of like how accessibility can be so important towards the voting process, and we have to like ensure that polling places are accessible to everybody, especially those with disabilities. We have to make the process in general just as streamlined as we can, making advanced voting and mail-in voting more widely accessible. Do it. Voting is crucial. It's the primary way that we get involved in democracy. It's the way that we influence policy and leadership. And now that millennials and Gen Z across the country now make up the largest voting bloc in Canada, that youth vote turnout is so important because the only way we're going to have youth priorities acknowledged by our leaders is if we show up to the polls and we vote. And by having that large turnout, people will notice, people will pay attention, and they'll think, you know what, we have to stand up for the folks that are bringing us in. Um, every vote is a part of something. I think it's again very easy to fall into that cynical trap of thinking that your vote's not going to matter. But everything like determines the direction of the country. The fact that you're contributing to keeping democracy alive in this country, I think, is awesome. Encouraging other people to vote is super important. Because more higher voting turnout, again, that's going to lead to more representative and legit governments and ensuring that like diverse voices are heard, that democracy remains like a big deal in Canada. And it's also just in general, voting is maybe more engaged. It's maybe more informed on like the stuff that's going on. It's maybe more interested in politics in general. So that would be my advice primarily. It's also just easy. I think for folks who are kind of iffy about participating like in partisan work, or who don't want to necessarily um, help out with a campaign and do like put signs on old people's lawns. It's very easy to just vote and have your say that way, without like committing to something that's perhaps more long term or more intensive in nature.